Hello and welcome to another episode of Bolts and Boost, everybody. So this is where my truck's gonna stay for the next, 5 months of winter, hopefully 4 months of winter. I cleared off the table, the operating table. This is my first time tackling this job. Now, people do it and it seems to be a pretty easy job, but I wanna do this slowly, methodically, replace every single thing that's worn, that's hard, like this here. I don't know if that's in bad shape or not, but just stuff like that. If it can be replaced, I'm replacing it. I got new belts. I hear taking off the bottom crank pulley for the Supercharger is a pain in the rear. So that's not happening at this time, but I was going to, just because with my ISF coming, it's going to be taking up this spot. There's not a lot of room to jack the truck up to stop the torque converter from spinning. But with that being said, I'm going to be doing everything else with this guy. Now, as you guys all are aware, I think I'm leaking out of the intercooler that sits beneath this guy. I'm not 100% sure. It could just be filling air, but this is going down every time I drive it. About 2-3 mils. So I'm suspecting there's a leak, and when there's a leak and you need to replace something, it's a great time to upgrade. So I'm going to be upgrading the intercooler on this thing, probably the exchanger that's below as well. And yeah, we're just gonna go through this thing and make sure she's all tidy and ready to go, so ready to rock. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. This video might not be as exciting to a lot of you, which is fine, but like I said, I'm going through this slowly, methodically. I know a lot of you have actually reached out to me and said you want to see more lightning content. Well, here it is. Like I said, it's going to be slow. Like, battery's coming off today. I'm gonna put it on a charger and just charge it. And all of the easy stuff is coming off today, and then I'm gonna obviously take the Supercharger off maybe today. I just don't know how that's gonna go yet because there's a set of bolts. I'll put a screenshot up here so you guys can see it, but there's a torque sequence obviously to the bolts that are holding Supercharger down, and it extends to the mid plate. It's a real pain to get to when everything is on. So, but like I said, guys do this all the time, seems without issue. So I shouldn't have any issue, but without further ado, I'm gonna start ripping into this thing. All right, so I took the intake box, air box, and the intake tract out. I did clean this out before, but as you can see, we got some more oil. It's, from what I understand, it's pretty common in these trucks, and you do have to pretty much get a catch can. It looks like this one is coming in from the PCV system that is tied in right into the Supercharger. And I don't remember which one that is. It might be on the back. I'm trying to look for it here with you guys. Because we got one here that ties into the intake. So it actually might just be this one here that ties right into the intake. That's another thing too, when you're pulling off the intake track, make sure you take these off somewhat gently if you can. This side, I thought there was a PCV system on this side. I'm pretty sure there is. I just can't remember where it is. Maybe it's this big guy here. Right here, it must be. It must be this one here, because it is separate from the intake air control valve. So, yeah, anyway. Let's keep going. All right, so I disconnected these throttle cables here. Really easy to do. This just clips on to the side, and then this is just a normal throttle cable that you have to put on. By the way, this is no way or shape or form a how-to video, because this is my first time doing this. I'm just showing you guys what I'm doing, just for some insight. There's not a ton of videos on the web or on YouTube on this process. Now, there is, but they don't do it start to finish, and they're kind of hard to follow. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys exactly what I'm doing. So now I'm gonna take this throttle bracket off that holds the cables. Just set it aside for now. And then I'm gonna start with the EGR valve and then all the hoses on the supercharger. All right, we're that much closer. Throttle cable brackets off. I'm probably gonna have to take this power steering bracket off as well because I do have a new thermostat, new hoses, you name it. Now, I took the battery tray off because it was looking a little brown town here, AKA rust. And yeah, that bracket's a little bit rusty, so I'll fix that. But because of the look of that, it was bleeding onto the paint, and I thought this would have been a lot grosser than it is. So that's a pleasant surprise. Bugs aside, of course, because there's bugs everywhere. This is a really weird box. If you know what this is, let me know. I'll search up that part number. It's very odd. It's like an air expansion box for whichever reason. But I am, of course, you know me, going to clean this up real nice right now. And yeah, it's going to look 100 times better. So let's get to it. All right, I got that spot cleaned up. It looks like the battery acid just over time sat on the paint a bit and flaked it up. It doesn't look like it's really rusty down there, which is nice. So I'm going to preserve it. I already have my rust converter on it. And I don't know if I'm going to put a coat of paint on it yet or just put my, my oil-based rust prevention on it. Just because you don't see this anyway. And I just think the paint won't go very far. Like it'll still get scratched up and what have you. Whereas the rust stuff actually like either kills the rust or stops it in its tracks. And that's kind of what my goal is because it's not really that bad. Maybe I'll just touch up the edges here where all the paint is flaking. But yeah, no, it's a lot cleaner and looks a lot nicer. So let's move on. All right, guys, so I'm working on the crappy side here, and I already found an issue with one of the hoses, and I thought I had a vac leak on this side, and I just started taking this hose off, and it was crumbling. As you can see down there, all the remnants of it. So that will be getting replaced. Now, I'm trying to see where this black bracket here attaches to, because it's not coming off very nicely. So I'm thinking that it has to be attached somewhere in the back. And I found it. So it goes all the way to the back of the supercharger. There, the bolt is, or the nut rather, is right there. If you can see that. It's literally the last nut. So I'll have to get at that. And then this whole black bracket should come off. Then I'm gonna take the EGR off. And then the supercharger should come off quite easily. And yeah, cool, exciting. So I'll definitely have to replace these hoses here. There's this one here that goes to the bottom nipple. And then this brake booster one goes on the top. I'm also doing this video because it's gonna help me put everything back together. All right, got it off. Now I'm just gonna try to clean everything up here before I go ahead and take the EGR off. This, I think, wraps around to that box. And then this one here wraps into the intake manifold. So I'm just gonna rip it off if I can. Come on. Okay, maybe I won't take that one off just yet. Everything's ready to go though, so I just need to make the room and yeah, go from there. So I'm gonna do that. I'm probably gonna take the EGR off. Might give me a little more wiggle room. I'm not too certain. All right, guys, so I'm gonna take this away. It doesn't look like you have to do it if you're just taking a supercharger off, but it's gonna make a lot more room. This came off, took a big crescent wrench and a mallet, but she's off. I'm gonna have to get those hoses off that vacuum actuator back there. And I'm going to drain this because it's power steering fluid and it should be, I can't remember what it is, Dexron, not Dexron, Mercon, obviously, because it's Ford, but Mercon. I'll have to put the screenshot up again for you here, but yeah, it's one of the ATF products of Ford, obviously. It does say power steering fluid on here, but when I look online, it says to use the Mercon. So that's what I'm going to do. I generally have better luck with the Mercon or the power steering, the transmission fluid usually anyway. So that's what I'm going to do. It looks like this is actually held on by another bracket. So I'm just going to try to take this bracket off here and drain the fluid. All right, so I'm taking this contraption out here. And again, I'm just almost doing this for my own know-how, but these connect to the bottom of this solenoid. This goes to that solenoid. I'll probably just take this silver EGR box off. That must be the little contraption that turns the code on if the EGR system's not working. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty well it. We had this guy on here. We had this plug, this weird plug going in there. I unplugged these ones to this one and it hissed at me, so it must be emissions of some sort. But I'm working on getting this last plug off here. Now, you probably don't have to do this if you're just taking off the supercharger, but I'll be doing the spark plugs as well. So it needs to come off because it's directly over the spark plugs. After that, it kind of looks like it's easy access from there. But yeah, just wanted to show you guys what I'm doing. That one goes there, obviously. But what a contraption. It's too bad I didn't know how to clean this up a lot nicer. Maybe I'll look into that. I don't know lightnings enough on what you can delete and erase and yada, yada, yada. But I'm sure I'll get there. All right, so she's out and look at all the room there. So this is what came out. Now, I was kind of startled when I saw that. It looks like a O-ring. It is an O-ring. When O-rings usually mean that this has to seal into something. So, little confused on what that sensor is. The rest of the stuff is pretty certain for EGR and emissions. That might be too. I just don't know what that is. So I'll have to do some digging on that. But that's all she wrote for now on that one. I'm going to go ahead and take off the coolant line bolts that are right there. There's two of them, and they're, I believe, a 13. So I'll take those off, and then the supercharger is ready to come off. All right, belt is off. Just a little tidbit here. Make sure this is off before you untension the belt, because obviously when the belt's off, the tensioner is going to go this way more, and it moves the breaker bar against this. So I had to play with the wizardry, basically, with both hands and try to make it not put so much pressure on this thing. And it worked because I had angle. But anyway, just take this off first, and then you don't have to worry about it at all. But these are all things you learn as you do things the first time. So this thing's ready to come off. I'm a little psyched out by it. I didn't think I would get this far this fast. Always a good thing. It's just putting everything back together properly is kind of the ooh. And there's so many vac lines on this thing and weirdness that I just want to clean up. But it has a weird torque sequence. Like I said, I'm going to try to loosen it, reverse torque, as I think you always should. And then the only crappy thing is that there's, I think, 4 bolts at the back of the plate that are supposed to be torqued in sequence with the supercharger. But like I said, no one ever does that because you can't physically get to them. They're way back there. I'll see if you guys can see them, but you can see the bolts there there's one right there, right below this hose. But those are supposed to come off with the supercharger, because basically this sandwiches everything together to the lower turkey pan, they call it. But it's a lower pan. So I'm just gonna look at the torque specs here and take it off. And just check everything out. All right, all the bolts are out except for that last one. It just physically cannot come out without taking the supercharger with it for whatever reason. Well, I know the reason, but it's kind of silly. I wish they would have, you know, thought about that. Oh, it looks like it almost. But I'm not going to scratch it because it looks like someone's been back here already and they scratched the firewall. But I'm going to go ahead and try and lift this off. Shouldn't be anything else holding it back now that I say that. But we're going to give this a try. Hopefully I can lift the damn thing by myself. All right, guys, we made it. We made it. So there's the intercooler. That's the sucker that's leaking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows. So that should be an old one. I will confirm, of course, with the shop that's going to send me a new one. All that oil in there is completely normal. Every single one I've seen is like that. And I'm just giving everything a look over here. Everything looks good. For the most part, there's oil sludge in there. Here's the supercharger. I did give it a little clean. Oil sludge and carbon buildup in here just due to the, you know, the PCV system. The coating on the rotors is coming off. I do believe that's normal. Not overly sure how to fix it. Again, I will take a look-see on that, but you can see some of the coating just sitting on that one rotor. Like, gross. So I'll give that a clean. But besides that, I think we're in good shape. I have no idea what this 323 means here. Engraved into the blower. I'll have to check that out. There is some surface scratches on the mating surface, but the gasket will take that up. I don't believe that was for me. I didn't really move this thing around too much to cause that. I did use a big breaker bar of mine to wedge between this and the plate here, just because right here actually on both sides. Just because I didn't want to yank on the plate with these bolts being out, of course. So exciting. I'll send these pictures off and get a second opinion. But anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. First for everything. I defeated it. It wasn't terribly bad. Like I said, there's those 4 bolts back there that are part of this torque sequence. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Check out other videos on the channel and subscribe. There's obviously a lot more lightning stuff coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned. All right, everybody. Peace.